Can't see it anymore. Strange. Oh, is that on there? Oh, yeah, it's the same one. Okay. Right. No, I don't think it picked up here. I don't think it does. Anyway, CP 6 not 65 Dolby CP850s. They are like showing up on eBay now like a treasure trove. I mean, they are discontinued now because they have the model 950 and the 950A. I don't know why. Dolby Labs have got such a bizarre cinema processor because basically they do the same thing. With a CP850, there are two HDMI inputs on it, naturally, I think, and I think there's a HDMI out, but that's got nothing to do. That has nothing to do, I believe, with using it as an audio, a AVP audio video processor, because it can't process. Well, it says in the manual it processes video. I don't know because I don't have much experience with a CP850, but they, as anyone would know, the HDMI signal can only carry the Dolby True signal. It can't be carried by the optical PCM because there's just not enough bandwidth on it. But yeah, you could actually have a CP850 in the home cheaper than, say, a Trinnov, a stormaudio. The only catch with a CP850 is it's like buying, say, like one of those Trinnovs, a Trinnov 16, and I'm not even sure with a 16. Where is it? Trinnov 16. Is that a picture of the 16? Oh yeah, that is a picture of the Trinnov 16. And no, the Trinnov 16 doesn't have the what do you call it, the DB25 connector on it because it looks like a pretty useless processor from the looks of it. So how would you upgrade? Because how many XLRs are on the back of this? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whoops. It's on the picture from there. Oh well, I'll look at the picture. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh well, yeah, it says 16. I don't know why I'm counting the bloody thing. That's it, yeah, on the damn thing, 16. Um, and then the two other XLRs for stereo signal, analog or something, or whatever. And then you got the mic input, trigger outputs, one, two, three, and four, two opticals input, and one optical output, coaxial. And you got the what's that on the back there? The audio network. I'm not sure what that is. Totally meaningless to me. But yeah, the Altitude 16 doesn't even look worth buying. I mean, let me think about it. How much does the Altitude 16 sell for? So you've got 16 channels. That's like a CB radio that has 40 channel. Okay, and it can't do anything else, and that is it. You can I mean, I don't think you can modify that 16. Um, Price. My goodness me. 17, it's almost 18 grand. It's 17,400, but by the time or whoever you get it delivered by, they'll probably have a stupid postage on it. Though, uh, but it, I'll just say for argument's sake, it's just a little shy of 18k, and yet you could get a CP850 for about 2,000, 1,500. I kid you not, the prices are so cheap on these now, and of course, it would only bog standard would give you a 16 channel on the DB 25 output, so two DB 25 outputs on the CP850. But there's also two connects by Ethernet connectors, and you've got to get what's called an interface called a 32 channel. So then it's like having then an altitude 32 or a stormaudio 32, but way less than the cost of a stormaudio or a trinnov. And it's just sort of like, would it work? Because I've not had any experience. I mean, if if it's got HDMI, then it should accept the because most Blu-ray player, 4K players have dual HDMI outputs, one that's audio video and one that's audio only output. So I'm assuming, because I've not tried this, because I've not had any experience, I'm assuming that you'd use the audio output and then connect that onto the CP850. And of course, you connect up the DB25 connector with XLR connectors to the amplifiers. But and a standard one is only going to offer 16 channel unless you have the interface. And you got to have any present working PC, computer, or lap or operating system laptop. Don't think you could use a Chromebook. That's not going to work. It's got to be something where you can load the program onto the computer, so then you can visual see what's going on, because it doesn't have the typical outputs on it where you just connect it up to the TV or the projector. It's not like that. It's only an audio processor. But it does mention something in the manual about video or something. I probably missed or skipped a page on the manual when reading it. It may have something to do with audio description, but I would have thought that would be outputting from the main cinema, what they call them, the DCP or the DCI, where the hard drive or the download is loaded onto, and then with a with an encryption, which is nothing to do really to do because if the processor still has the codec, then it should still accept the signal and then decode it, the audio, but at way less than the cost of a. If I only waited, if I only waited just a little longer, a few years longer, I would have been looking at one of these. Though I'm a bit cynical about the Atmos thing, I could have bought one of those cheaper, far cheaper. Um, I do believe that occasionally a CP850 has a startup issue sometimes, or it's a simple thing where you just got either probably got to turn it off and turn it back on again. Um, that doesn't surprise me, because I get that issue of the storm audio sometimes. I've got to turn it off and turn the damn thing back on again. Um, get it way, way light years cheaper. And with the way it's going on, and I'm seeing now mostly, I'm seeing up to nearly just under 10 on eBay, 10 850s, and they're all mostly, some of them are about 1,500. I mean, that's the price of a top that's almost the price of a, kind of near top-end AVR, but it only offers 11 channel or 12 channel of processing. Um, like I say, all you need is just still your a common AVR system that could provide the video side, and then you just got the audio, and then you got the processor that's just going to do and like I say, the more things change, the more they remain the same. But if you get the interface, you definitely need a computer to connect up, and then the leads are just um, ether connectors connecting, so it's sending the signal to the interface and a signal back to the processor, if I understand that correctly. And you wouldn't use the standard CP850s DB25 connectors. You go straight over to the interface because it's got one, two, three, four DB25 connectors, which is similar to the back panel of a trinnov. And when you look at a trinnov, that's about, how many U frame? I think it'll be about that, about the same U frame as the Storm Audio. And yet the CP850 with the interface would be about that height. It'll be a fraction or so, maybe one U frame or so less than a Storm Audio. And it would fit nicely in a rack, of course. Um, but it won't do DDS, it won't do Limax enhancement because it's strictly a Dolby Atmos signal sound decoder processor. If you want, the DDSX, and when you think about it, the DDSX, how many people even talk about it? It's a sound format that's down there. The Dolby Atmos thing is like up there, even though, again, I say it's not like a legit three-dimensional sound format. It's doing it by half, but you still, at the end of the day, I tell you, I think most of the cinemas now are probably selling the 850s, or they end up at, going to a supplier, and then the supplier or someone, maybe a cinema goes out of business, and someone acquires an 850. And if you just get an 850 on eBay, you're only going to get 16 channel out of it, and it's also got to be unlocked because it is a bit of a tricky process. You can't just get it, put it in the rack, and just think, "Oh, it's gonna work," 'cause you might need to, you really got to unravel and check it because it will have a password or something on it where it was used in a cinema. So, it might be, and of course, I think the EQ controlling on it would be a little, even though it would have to be controlled by the computer, the laptop, I think it's probably a little bit easier than using the Rack Live Genesis Arc. Um, and another thing that's funny and strange is some um, still CP750s, though they are still being installed in cinemas, um, because the 650, that's no really much no longer used, but unless it's a cinema that has 35 millimeter and digital projection. Otherwise, most cinemas today are not going to have a CP650. The 750, some of them are still, well, I've seen on eBay, some almost sell a little bit more dearer than the 850. It depends on who the seller is, of course, and whether the unit is brand new in the box. I got a 750 in the racks, but I hardly use it. In fact, when I turn the system on, the lights all come up on it, and I just don't know why. I just get at the back of the rack and turn the damn thing. Has it got a switch on it? You got to pull the plug out on it, I think. Yeah, you got to pull the plug out on it. Literally, they didn't put a switch on the 750 at the front, so you can just turn it off. I was thinking for many years to get that on the bench, open it up, see what's inside, and see where I can make a simple modification, and then put a power switch where I can just very smartly, very neatly, professionally sort of, well, that's just a bullshit word, professionally, just make it very neat, and then so I could just turn it off and on from the front panel. Otherwise, it's just a pain in the arse just to get the back of the bloody rack and pull the bloody lead out. But weird. 850. Oh yeah, they got a power on and off switch right at the bloody front of the processor, and I think another switch at the back of the processor as well. So there's a switch, on the back of the processor, just like say like a stormaudio trinnov. There's a power switch at the back, and then there's a power on and off at the front panel. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'll just say if people out there like these sort of things, you know, and boys, whatever, you could save yourself bundles and bundles of thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds, because like I say, more things change, the more they remain the same. And of course, like I say, it's just an audio processor. So if you still got an existing one, you know, and you're only stuck with a Denon, Marantz, Yamaha, whatever the bloody hell it is, and it only does processing for so many channels, mm, maybe just do a teeny little quick research just to get. I mean, if I want to, because like I say, I've got no experience with that processor. I know how to bloody use a cinema processor. I'm not stupid. I just had no experience with it. I've got experience with listening to Atmos. That I damn well sure have. Um, I would just maybe ask a cinema supplier, Can it, yes or no, with the HDMI, accept the signal from the Blu-ray player? A simple yes or no is all I ask. That's it. Because I have to read a bit more through the manual, or you could just read through the CP850 manual and to see whether you know, there's something there it says, because it doesn't say definite. Oh yeah, you could just plug this up because they're not thinking, no, this is going to be used for the home as well. I mean, I've got a CP200 in my room, and I could use it for, so just like anything that usually has analog audio input and output, you can get a signal to go through it. No if, no but, no debate, no vote on it. But if it's something tricky, like say, well, there's no actual SDDS available for the home. Because I'll give you a quick heads up on that. Because many years ago, Sony announced or made a comment in comment for a magazine that they would never release that format for the home use. It's strictly for the cinema only. That's rather selfish, I think, on Sony. They could have made quite a bundle, you know, and they just kept it to themselves. But SDDS is no longer. That's a completely retired sound format now. That retired, oh gosh, 10 years or more ago. Um, it retired. With the last movie being Surf's Up. I think it was 2005. Gosh, bloody hell. 2005? Gotta be kidding me. It's been a while since it retired. Yeah. So yeah, but like anything, right? Like anything, if someone were to capture an SDDS raw digital signal and have it synchronized with a DVD, a Blu-ray. Well, probably there wouldn't be maybe enough bandwidth on a DVD for it, but a Blu-ray, it might be a bit more bandwidth to handle the the signal. And all we have to do is not, well, have to be encoded still, otherwise, or there is a way around it. It's capturing the actual output signal from the 8-channel mixes. Not that we could care for the 6-channel ones because they're not worth it. But the very few 200 titles that were done in SDDS 8-channel could be converted into a Dolby 7 point and a Dolby codec for the 7.1, and all we have to do is just reconfigure the output channels on the processor for the left center, right center, and then you're up and running. Of course, the speakers have to be matched. You can't use a different speaker. They've got to be exactly the same, otherwise it defeats the purpose of the object of the soundtrack. But yeah, that's doable. Otherwise, if it was in a raw SDDS, it would be possible, I suppose, if it's somehow connected to the digital reader on the processor, because there's an input, two inputs for digital reader one, digital reader two. That's if they're two projectors. Otherwise, you just have a digital one reader. And then as long as it can see the signal and recognize and understand the signal, then it would decode the signal. And then you'd be listening to that rare SDDS8 channel. Not that you could say that, you know, um, well, I don't know. Anyway, 850s. I think as this year drags on, and it's been a lousy one so far, and it'll probably get more lousier as it goes on, you know, just like every year, where sad people just say, "Oh, Happy New Year." I never accept a Happy New Year from someone. I never like saying it back to someone. It's not as if to me because I think, "What's so damn happy about it?" Huh? Exactly. It's bullshit. Anyway, um, might as well just say good day and happy days. Um, there might be more and more of them showing up, inevitably, unquestionably, because they got the 950 now, and the 950's also got like a booth monitor built into it, whereas the 850 doesn't. A booth monitor is just a speaker monitor, so just for the projectionist to, or well, projectionist. You got to be kidding. Technician. They don't have projectionists in cinemas anymore. They're just button pushers. um, so you can monitor the soundtrack to see whether there's a fault with the soundtrack or a fault with the sound system. I don't know how that works, but because you got to have another booth monitor that's connected in the system, because sometimes you might think an amplifier is okay, and you got to check it. You got to check the amplifier mode and check what is faulty, or if there's nothing. If it looks okay, and somehow you check the processor monitor until until you notice a fault, and then you can probably make a quick decision to correct it, um, if it's fixable. Usually, sometimes it is. Yeah, some 850s are on eBay at around about 3 grand. Still, that's still cheaper than a trinnov and a stormaudio, uh, especially a trinnov 16. Crikey, a trinnov 16, 17 and a half grand. Look at my CB radio over there, and I think, my CB radio can do more channels than that. What is it coming to, really? Anyway, yeah, I know most of you now are probably looking. You go find these special things on mostly eBay USA, because not many showing up on eBay UK. There's been some, or one that was. No, hang on, that wasn't an 850. That was it was a 950, and yeah, it was selling for about £1,200. It's sold now, I think, or maybe the seller has taken it off the list because he's having trouble selling it. But again, another head up is that when you buy these 850s, sometimes usually they will be a core version now, meaning it, it's capable of playing Atmos. If it's based, then you got to pay Dolby Lab for unlock the key sort of thing, and that's not going to be cheap. You think, fucking hell, you got to pay that amount of money just to fucking unlock this fucking thing. Daylight robbery. It's like Windows, it's like Google or Windows or something, it's like you don't really own the computer now, you're leasing the bloody thing. But you never know, you never know. Um, and the 850 seems to be with every picture I've seen on YouTube, eBay, um, the LC or is it I'm not sure what type of display it's using. The, displays look okay, unlike, say, the one of Dolby's CP500 processors that have an appalling display that goes all lines all over the bloody screen, and then you just can't read it. You can't navigate through the bloody thing. You gotta buy a new display, and you gotta make sure that display is the correct type, and it's an easy repair fix, and then you got a brand new display that you can read. The display on my 500, I've had to swap over occasionally, with another CP500 and swap the displays over because um, one display gets extremely, like I say, you can't read it, and then I'll swap it for something, and it's got minor lines on it, minor. But that was one of the flaws, I think, with those CP500s, and believe it or not, it won a fucking technical award at the Academy Awards. Can you believe that bullshit? They actually gave that piece of junk an Academy Award. You know, criminal. Yeah, you definitely know the Oscars are fixed. Because most people say, yeah, you don't want a 500, you want this processor because at 500, at the end of the day, can't do all the 70 millimeter formats, and even though you got 6 channels going into it, um, be whether it's 70 or Dolby Digital, it's 6 channels. It's a 6 channel. Um, and most 500s uh, don't even have all the noise reduction cards. And you got to get a daughter card to fit in the damn thing, which is like a Y connector or sort of thing, and it plugs in, and then you can plug in the other two um, noise reduction cards for 70 use or whatever, whatever. Those things are usually hard to come by. I don't know why they didn't fit the bloody whole thing with the damn. Why cut corners? Why make it complicated? Um, mm. Another thing is, the it's a bit of a gamble and a risk to buy an 850 because it depends on how long Dolby Labs would continue to service that processor, even though it's discontinued. They will still, how long will they service it for, parts, etc. Um, because like all the other similar CP processors, they are no longer supported by service. Though I got some, hmm, I've got a little bit of assistance with my CP200 um, to get certain things up and running, so I could check it to make sure it was working. Plus, I had to do a few simple minor modifications to it and repair. Um, yeah, that processor is like a it's like a monolith. It's like took just less than a year to get all the modules for it, all get it all complete, plus many more months to get it up and fully running because it's very complicated analog cinema processor. Um, but yeah, if you get 850, that's what I will be thinking. I'll be thinking, how long until this processor is not going to be supported anymore? And then it might be very tricky. And if you spent, a few grand, think, would it be better to spend tens or tens and tens of thousands of dollars or pound or whatever on one of these home version things that's got all these other codecs in and all these other, fancy that they're trying to sell like you think you would need that. I mean, how often, think about it, how often would someone use DTSX, even though hmm, it comes on certain Blu-ray discs and, you know, it's not like cinema now, where cinema, but I'm quite amazed. Though I don't give a fuck about cinema anymore, film, but back when I gave a fuck, you know, I was kinda amazed that 35 millimeter had come along many ways over the decades. I mean, it's had many types of optical sound formats being tried on it that, and probably never used again and discontinued. And then, getting into the 90s with cinema digital sound failing because they didn't have a backup analog soundtrack for it. And then Dolby SRD comes along, and you got spectral recording, analog sound for backup, and you got digital six channel for, you know, like it's like every cinema then has six channel playback, just like 70 millimeter film, six track mag, which is extremely expensive and needs a lot of care handling it, just like handling Sony's SDDS 8 channel or 6 channel be with it. Sony SDDS, because the digital tracks are on the edge of the 35 millimeter on the left and on the right side of the film print. So there's two like reader digital chips in the processor. One's doing left and one's doing right and decoding, and it all outputs blah blah blah. Um, and you got to handle that very carefully. Otherwise, if it gets damaged in any way, you start getting the problems with it. Um, but then you got DTS on it, you know, you got all these soundtracks literally stuffed onto 35 millimeter. Mind boggling. And yet here we are with this crappy Blu-ray format that's bragging it's got all this bandwidth and shit. And at the most, at the times, you don't get dual English language track with DTS, um, Dolby True. You don't get dual. Of course, there's a backup, an analog, in case the digital in some way fails on the processor, which can happen, but that is extreme rare that it would fail, or with an encoding on the disk that um, somehow the processor doesn't like the signal, and then you get a load of noise, and you can't figure out why. until you start asking, and then everyone says, "Yep, we know what it is." Um, that rarely does happen now. It was many years ago, it seemed pretty common now and then. But now, I mean, I've hardly noticed apart from sound dropouts on the processor, but that's just the lousy processor itself. It's not the fault of the disk. It's just the processor, the Storm, where it has audio dropouts now and then because the way I handle a disc by reversing and playing and reversing and playing, and sometimes it gets confused and think there's no signal there, and then the audio goes out and you just got a picture, no audio, just a picture. You got to turn the processor off and turn it back on again. um, so I'm just going through some experience. Um, would I get an 850? Um, would be interested, but again, the renderer. Sorry, not the renderer. That's a bloody thing you can download for that seeing those stupid things moving around. The extender or the extender box. Some of the extender boxes, there are not many of them on eBay that I've seen, though I think I have seen, I think they were brand new in the box. Uh, Brand new, spanking in the box, and I think they were about 3 grand. So, yeah, that's not cheap. But then again, if you think about trinnov, the trinnov has an extender as well, which goes from 32 channel up to 48 channel. Um, you just add that onto the and it extends, but I think that extender for a trinnov would be a few grand at least. They're not gonna sell it cheap because they're greedy and they think, "Oh, more channels for a user, yeah, so they gotta pay that money." But it's a little bit over the top greedy, and when I think of when I think of CB radios and how they were modified and extra extra 40 channels high, extra 40 channels low, and so on. Thinking those modifications were so cheap. Mm, yeah. Well, at the end of the day, do you get a do you get a processor that's higher audio quality, or does it simply sound the same? Mm, no, virtually no difference. Mm. Because it'd still be. I mean, it's not like they make a like DTS. It's not like they make, I think, a standalone um, processor. I think there is, but I think that is Oblivion or Blotion or whatever the bloody hell it's called. Trinnov. They make a very short, slim 2U frame. I think it is. I think it's a 2U frame. It looks like the ugly duckling. You know that get out of town. You know it looks oh god, it looks terrible. Um, I think that's got several codecs built into it, but not sure if DTS themselves have or it's not DDS, isn't it? It's datasat, isn't it? I don't think it's data sat or DDS, whatever. I think it's the same, isn't it? Same, the same codec. Um, and yeah, it's not like you can get like like get the DDS CAD 5 professional. Um, I mean that looks pretty smart looking, that DTS CAD, and boom, yeah, DTS CAD. It's only a 6 channel, or a, is it a 6 or a 7 channel, I think. Yeah, I think 7. I don't think 8. I don't think it can extend it to 8. I don't think the two auxiliary outputs for the rear back of the surrounds for the DTS are used for stereo. I think they're just dual mono discrete, or dual matrix, depending on the signal encoding on the disk. But I mean, there's not many like manufacturers that use use the DTS. It's usually occasionally 20th Century Fox, is it anymore? But it is, I still know it. 20th Century Fox. They use it. Rarely, occasionally, they use Dolby True now. Um, get to that point where many years ago, when I first bought the Blu-ray format, there was the availability of, depending on the disc, the studio release. It was like, oh yeah, one's like DTS and the other is Dolby True. And then it went on about a year, or just about a year so later, after getting the format and then feeling, whoa, what are they doing? They suddenly seem to be declining the use of Dolby True. I mean, what's going on here? It's like this studio and this studio now using DDS, and I was I just thought sort of found the DDS to be kind of repulsive, um, and not really liking it that much, except for maybe on Laserdisc. That's again the point is, the disc formats are not holding all these codecs, and then they start, and then there was this issue for many years where nearly all the titles you buy on Blu-ray were DTS encoded, for crying out loud. And that only changed a little bit when Dolby True came with Dolby Atmos, and then some discs manufacturers started to produce Dolby True again. It's like some sort of, I don't know, when you think of it in the market, and though I'm not a big Dolby fan much anymore, because I think they're a bit crooked. Um, you got people thinking, "Oh yeah, well, I'm a Dolby fan. Oh, I'm a DDS fan." But do you honestly notice the difference in the sound playback? I mean, seriously, do you know? I don't. I don't even notice, unless it been completely and utterly um, altered in the sound mix. Otherwise, the two are virtually identical sound mixes. It's just one's with a different codec. um, decode and encode and decode delivery. Um, Otherwise, you think, well, Dolby, they've been kind of been on this bandwagon since the early 1970s. Earlier than that, they only with the audio industry for music in that the 19 middle 19 or late 60s, and then they got involved in motion picture soundtracks during the early 70s. Um, and you just see all the other competitions. I mean, there's between DTS. I mean, I don't even like Gladiator on Blu-ray DTS. It sounds like it's a loudness disc, a loudness war, like the CD. The bloody soundtrack's this bloody level when it should be a little bit less and have dynamics that, well, they're not real dynamics, mind you. They are fake, you know. But it's just like having something that's normal. So how do I define? How do you define normal? It's like having something that's normal with a bloody preamplifier on it, and the bloody level turn up way up, and then you play it for a second. You think, "What the bloody hell?" And you compare it to an audio thing. It sounds like someone's got the fucking volume right up, and you got to turn the bloody thing down. That's what it sounds like. Otherwise, I might as well, you know, depending on the signal to noise ratio. I mean, why they got the fucking things on a CD so fucking blaring fucking loud? If it's got a signal to noise ratio on of the say like the disc to the player it's playing on to the audio equipment, and they got signal noise ratios that are way down here, way below 80 minus 80 dB. And you can't even notice any noise. That is hence meaning signal to noise. You don't notice any hum or typical noise that you would most might associate with a turntable, maybe, or maybe a tape deck, reel to reel, 8-track, VHS, fucking laserdisc, electric toothbrush. Um, You wouldn't you're not gonna notice it. It's gonna be fucking way down here for crying out loud. And it's like some of the bullshit it's like today with some of the bullshit, um, that'll be true, and some of these remixes of old movies, and it's like, "Oh, this Twister with the fake Atmos bullshit mix, it sounds like a little bit louder than the Laserdisc AC3 theatrical mix, and it sounds like a loudness war. It's bullshitting. And oh dear, do you need it? Because you just end up turning the volume down on it. It just doesn't, you know. Otherwise, yeah. Or if I thought an audio input signal was low, then I'll use what do you call it? The output level boost on the Storm processor just to either raise it 3 dB, 6 dB, 9 dB, or 12 dB, depending on how low the signal is. Not that I got a problem on the amplifiers. Usually the amplifier levels, I keep them set at a specific level. I don't need them at full blast. Um, because if I put them at full level, I've got to you have to attenuate the output level on the processor. So you play the pink noise, and then you attenuate the level for a 75 dB or an 85 dB, where typically mm, um, it's just a little bit loud, a little bit more louder, of course. Make some adjustments in some of the EQ and the frequency response to make it a little mellow. Yeah, and I'm not going to give a hint. Yeah, so mm, some of the problems there is all these discs with their encode and what you're going to get with a cinema processor. Did you get a You gonna get a deal, or is it gonna be? I don't care. Do I care really? I think I'll just wait for the prices to come down because they are going to come down. Because um, when they got processors that they're not selling as quick as they expect, um, and they will run out, and then there'll be more of them because it seems like the 850s are going to be thrown out now. It's like you know that processor, I think if it was brand new, I think it would be almost the price of a Storm Audio. And yeah, it's lost quite a lot of its value. It's just like a second-hand car, you know. Once you drive it out the shop, it's lost a bit of its value. Um, um, yeah, it'll be a few years until 950s are on eBay. No, I've only seen a few show up. Not, that's very, very rare. And I think the few that I've seen were probably a base version, not a core version, because all the ones that have come out of the cinema would be core versions. You probably still need you got to have a computer to run it. Otherwise, I mean, to run most of get all the parameters and everything set up. And once those parameters are set up, then you just use the processor's keys, arrow keys on it, up and down, side, left, or just use the arrow keys to navigate. And then you got the sound format buttons. So if you know where it's plugged in with the HDMI, then you use that button, and then you have another input, maybe for music, 2 channel, maybe coming from maybe a tape deck, CD player. Um, uh, but you definitely, just like you do with a trinnov, you need it's all got to be connected to computer. So if you use the extender, 32 channel to 48 channel, you've got to reconfigure, crying out like you got to reconfigure all the, what you're going to use, so you leave everything else on the processor, the main processor or trinnov all connected, and you put the extender on, um, and then just add more of the same. What more speakers going around the sidewalls, and depending whether or not those are used, and are they just sometimes with Atmos with these remixes they do, or usually remixes. They don't take the film score music track instruments individually. They're not played back in a sense that you hear certain instruments in a certain way on certain speakers, and then when the whole lot is all playing together, it has a total different musicality. Um, would certainly get my attention if I would hear that. It would but most typical ones are I just hear the same sort of music on on these side speakers, or sometimes the over, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, it's just the same as just it's a cheat, it's a con, it's a scam, and it's just sheer laziness on the mixers, just sheer laziness. Um, because with certain six-channel mixes that I've heard over the years, certain musical sounds have a different music sound in the surrounds, totally different from the front, because it's been subtracted away. So if you were to listen to the compact disc, and if you listen carefully, you might hear certain musical instruments, and you think, "Oh yeah," and then you hear the six-track version designed for the cinema, or and then in the home. It's totally different. It's a different kettle of fish, and you think, "Wow, that sounds neat." That's what I want to hear, as well as harmony of instruments and flowing and moving, and not just hearing the same random music just to make it seem like it sounds louder. On that movie, fucking Gravity, it's all totally discrete music mixing, which when it's played back correctly, it seems okay. It's pretty okay. But other movies that are just old movies that are just remixed, upmixed. Oh dear, avoid. It's just terrible. Yeah, there's nothing more to say on that. So keep a lookout on the eBay on there's more and more of those processors, and I'm looking at one. I'm looking just at one of them right now. Oh, looking at the renderer, the 32 channel renderer, the interface audio processor DAC 3201. I suppose that 32 is the 32 channel, and the 01 is probably just one. And the D and the A and the C, what's that? Dolby analog converter? Or does it stand for Dolby audio converter? Or digital analog converter? I don't know what the DAC stand, frankly, I don't care because I just know you just mate it and then it just recognise the signal once the ether lead connectors are connected on the input output. And it's programmed on the CP850 on the computer. It will recognise. What do these have? They just have LEDs on these. It's LED light, just a simple LED. No VU levels, but you can see moving up and down. Oh, that's a bit of a downer. And you can see VU levels on the Storm audio. You can see the levels and what how high that level is, and on on this, of course, you look at it on the main screen on the computer. That's what you got to use the computer for. So you got to have a separate computer running with the CP850. So you'd have a say like me. So yeah, you got to have another screen in the room so you can see what's visually happening. Otherwise, you just probably, I guess, these lights just turn on and it just says, or maybe they just flicker on and off, just to say that there's a signal there, but it doesn't tell you what the level's going to be. Yeah, you got to look at it on the computer so you can see the levels or see those stupid things on that renderer thing moving around. That doesn't tell you anything because it doesn't tell you what the level is of the actual output. Um, I think the levels on a trinnov on on the front display can only go up to a certain. They don't look doesn't look very impressive. They're very difficult to way more smaller and tiny, so very not legible. Need glasses to bloody read it. On a Storm process, it's a little bit clearer. Yeah, it's like, yeah. And what else wouldn't the I'm not sure if they got crossover networks or anything like that. On the CP850. Not that it mad none of not that none of that matters because most cinemas would use most today with the amplifiers have DSP, and they would be using they would do all the crossover networking on the amplifiers. Um, you could do all the EQ and all that stuff up to I think it's 1/12 octave on the CP850. Um, you could still have like an oh yeah, of course you could have the DT, the HDMI. You can have an optical input on connected on it, and I think there's only a single optical input on an 850, so it could be used for maybe an optical output on the same player, or yeah, and then you got one or was it two non-sync inputs, and then you could use those for mm, maybe Dolby. Well, maybe it's not Pro Logic, it's DSU, isn't it? Gain, yeah, DSU. Yeah. There is, I think, on the 7 on the 850. Um, on the back. There's a picture. I haven't got no. The 850 doesn't have a regular. Doesn't have a regular 8-channel input. It's got an 8-channel AES input, and then you got an auto, and then you got another DB8, DB25 above it, automation, which wouldn't even be used. You wouldn't use the automation because it would be not applicable really for the home. Only in a situation for cinema. And you got the remote. The remote, which is the same Ethernet connector sort of plug-in. That would only be used for a remote control, wireless. Not wireless. Wired connector for the fader control and format and mute button, and so, but that wouldn't be really used. Not necessary. Oh, it's only got one non-sync input and two microphone inputs. For the setting up the microphone for the pink noise RTA, and of course two connectors on the back of the on the CP850 to connect to a computer monitor, so you can visualize the information on what the processor for alignment, calibration, and playing with it. Yeah, so it's got two HDMI inputs and a HDMI output, but it's got sod all. You don't plug the output into a TV. I mean, that's a totally different output use, but the inputs, I assume those are just would accept the audio signal. And of course the other inputs to the processor, which is, where is it? I think it's the input command. Yeah, you got the input and you got command. Yeah, those are Ethernets. Those would connect from the something like a DCI or a DCP, where it has all that download hard drive or whatever the bloody hell it is, and that goes from that one server and it connects onto the back of the and then it's recognized. Otherwise, I think the HDMI can or could be used. And if it can't, then you got a bit of a paperweight. Oh, and another thing is, which I don't have experience with, of course, if this is going to be used in a room, of course, what is the pitch sound of the frequency of the fan? And depending on where or what is located in that processor, because there's one fan located at the back of it, would that fan on that CP850 be really applicable for use? Because I disconnected the fan on the CP500 because it was a bit of a leaf blower, and I've not had a problem with the CP500, the two fans that are located. The processor still runs fine with it without the fans. CP 950. Let's have a look at Yeah, the CP950 has got, I don't know if I'm looking at this correctly. So I'll have a look at find another picture. Oh, there's one picture there that's different. That's the 950. It's got two fans on it. Two fans. The power and everything's all on the on the opposite side compared to an 850 where it's over the other side. Um, there's another picture of a CP950. Oh, that's the 950A. Oh, right. So there's a difference between a 950 and a 950A is they got extra fans. They've got a lot of fans that like it. Um, yeah, I would imagine that is going to sound very audible in the room. That would be pretty annoying, that. But the difference between a 950 and an 850 is the front panel display, and I believe they put a touchscreen panel. They put a touchscreen on the display, which is something I've been moaning about. Storm audio processor. They should have put a touchscreen on it. The touchscreen is not an uncommon thing. It's been, I mean, they're on laptops. The touchscreen have been around for, it's been in use for decades. They should have put that on the Storm Audio to make it a little bit quicker, and they made the display on the Storm Audio a little bit larger and have it touchscreen, so it just makes it quicker to navigate rather than pressing this button, click, 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 click. Oh, bloody hell. God. And of course, yeah, you got the fader there, and you've got the fader one there for the booth, the audio monitor on the processor. So it's a little bit less buttons on that, but most of it is all touchscreen on the display. And the display, from looking at the processor, I think it's only a 2U frame. So it's not a very ultra large display compared to a Storm processors or the oh gosh, what's that processor? I think it's Datasat. I think it's a Datasat home theater, home cinema processor. Most likely absolutely discontinued now because I think it can still do Dolby Atmos on it. I imagine the prices are a little bit cheaper on that thing now. And I think, I do believe you still got to use an extender with a 950. So if you got one, I don't know why, and this is what I can't understand. Let's just click on that picture there and zoom it. I'll be able to. Where is it? That one. Where's the picture? Oh yeah, that one there. Oh no. You gotta be kidding me with these tiny little pictures. You can't click on that and zoom it up. What are they playing with, Dolby Labs there? Bloody hell. I'll just use this one here. I'll just zoom that up a little bit there. Yeah. Again, just like a just like the 850. There's just a few. Actually, there's less. There's only two DB25s on the back. Can I zoom that up? Let's see what the bloody hell those things look say there. We'll try this one there. Can I zoom in on that? Oh, that's the manual for the manual for the 950. I'm surprised, mate. Scroll through the manual. Ah, yeah, yeah. Well, they just got a different display that shows sample rate. Oh, yeah, like, yeah, you're going to get excited about that. I think it just incorporates a bit more similar of what the 850 does, and just a different design. Oh yeah, there's a back view of it. What's that say there? Well, it's not very good. Bloody hell! How are we about? Oh sugar! Analog out, analog out. Oh yeah, it's the same. It's the same. So a 950 comes bog standard. Doesn't have an automation on it like not that like it's going to be applicable for home. You got an expansion slot for future upgrades. Um, so I think that's the encode. The I think that's something to do with the decoder. Um, there's only a single HDMI on the 950 with an out, with a HDMI out, input and out. Um, Same single non-sync, a single microphone on this one. That's curious. Single microphone RTA input. And then, of course, the input connectors. Um, oh, you got the command network. Yeah, the command network. And oh yeah, oh sorry, AES. Oh right, they've done away with right the because the 850 had a DB25 AES input. And on this one, they got Ether connector AES input. So it's shorter lead, more things change, the more they stay the same. Just more bundles of tiny little wires and a little connector. That's all it is. Otherwise, you could take some of these things today and think, what if I modify that and put a different connector on it? You know, as long as you got the wires connected to the pins and it soldered and all that, it does the same thing, only using a different lead connector. Makes it a little quicker, or maybe that lead will still be vulnerable to getting damaged. You know, so anyway, yeah, it's a little bit less and a little bit more. Just curious how loud those fans are. I'm looking at this 850, which is the 850A. No, 850, 950. Sorry, CB9 950. Doesn't look like those fans are connected. It looks like they're blank. They just don't have any fans behind the actual It's just curious. Personally, I don't think the fans are really needed. I mean, that thing would have to get seriously hot, without the fans. Though, kind of saying that, the um, Sony STDS gets pretty warm. I don't have the fans for that, and it's being able to run a CP750 doesn't have any fans on it, and yet I can touch feel around it, and it doesn't get as hot like the SR card in a CP500. Flipping SR card in there, flipping that gets flipping hot. 'Cause I think there's about 15. I think there's something like 15-volt going through that card and all the component. It gets pretty warm. Oh, unlike the cat card 150 in the some of the CP processors. Oh yeah, the other CP. Oh yeah, this is the amplifier. So you use ether. Those ethers. Oh yeah, those are ether. Oh yeah, that's the Dolby amplifier, which is that a one, two, three, um, two, three. I think that's a 4U frame. Looks like a 4U frame. That's I think that is a. I think that's a 32 channel amplifier, class D. Wow, look at that, class D amplifier, 32 channel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 20. Oh no, I think that's 24. Where's the input all around? Hang on, what are those there? Oh, those ones there. Oh no. Uh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's 24. I think they do a 30, something 30, 30 or 32. But it's all class D amplifiers where, they get these things now. They're like they're built from bloody Area 51 alien Earth encounters. You get these flipping amplifiers now. They're getting so bloody small, more power out, and all this. I wonder how many cinemas would actually use this amplifier. Because I have seen pictures of booths and I don't think I've seen one picture that's got a Dolby amplifier. They either Crown QSC amplifiers, but something like this for the home would be yeah. I'd like to have one of these, but because they got ether connectors, they got to be connected by ether connector to the processor because it's probably a little tricky because there's no other inputs on these things that I can see. Um, yeah, yeah. Hang on. Let me just do this count again. Hang on. Let me just do this count again. One, two. Hang on. How many channels is this? One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Hang on. Trying to read this, but hang on. This is, oh yeah, hang on, 24. But oh no, this is the 32 channel amplifier I am. Look, I thought it was a 20. This is the 32 channel. Just got to zoom this up a little bit. And I can just about read it. I can just about read it on the PDF file. Wow, 32 channel. Wow. There'll be a way around that to modify the input signal, because it would recognize a signal coming into it, and then it would do, depending on what channel is connected to what speaker. 32 channel, 32. Mm, zoom out on that. Yeah, I believe that amplifier is not cheap as well. It's several grand, several grand. But if you look at the cost of other amplifiers, Class D amplifiers, and some of these other ones, for the home theatre, home cinema sort of thing. And then you look at some of the diabolical rip-off prices they're selling the damn things at. 32 I think this one will work out cheaper, even though it's pretty pricey. I don't think you're going to get many of these on eBay at the moment, because I haven't seen one. But wow, that would certainly reduce the rack space in an amplifier. And depending on how it's configured or how it's used, because if you use it for doing typically the screen channels, low frequency and high frequency, bass cab, HF compression horn, um, and then you go through to the surround speakers, they typically would have a two-way or maybe a three-way speaker, depending on, and then they just have their own passive crossover, which would be, uh, it's acceptable. But this will still reduce the cost, but it's the price. And of course, you get all this for the home, and you think, does it make any profit? Of course, it doesn't. Can't make any profit on home cinema. If you make profit on home cinema, you got to have a, for the public, or don't say anything. You got to have a performance license act to, because you're selling tickets basically. So yeah, you can't do that. Otherwise, you can. You just keep it to yourself. I don't do that. I don't do that. Anyone wants to watch it, watch it. Yeah, but some want to make money out on this sort of thing. You got to have you got to have a performance sort of thing. So I suppose you pay someone, you got, and then they get a tiny slice of pie, and whatever you know, mm, it's just like anywhere else, offer licenses, they got to have to sell alcohol. Um, mm, Otherwise, generally, yeah, home cinema doesn't make any profit. You spend a huge amount, and it doesn't make zero. Oh dear. So you got to think like, how the heck am I going to get a budget or something to supply the next lamp? bulb for the projector. You want to make a little, if you're showing it, you want to make something on the side there so that you can get another bulb so you can continue to show, and maybe pay the electric as well, of course. Actually, no, it doesn't really cost that much. It doesn't cost much to run my home cinema on the electric. Um, all depends whether you're pulling a lot of current and ampage. Like that's what makes it count, and then it starts, coming off pretty quick. Um, Otherwise, you know, when you turn that kettle on, that's pulling a few kilowatt. Microwave, that's pulling a few kilowatt. Um, but home cinema with the amplifiers that are not even pulling max level. There's no way they're going to be pulling kilowatts when you measure all the power. You know, if you measure it smartly through calculation, and then you realise you're only using, and you think it sounds that loud and it sounds that good. It's not like you play it at PA concert levels, which is totally different because you've got to push a lot of air across to reach yelling audiences that won't shut the fuck up. Otherwise, if they could shut the fuck up, maybe they could play the thing a little bit less. Thus, mathematics, the cost will come down slightly on how much not that they are really, because they've got to use generators, and depending on where it's all connected. Sometimes it's power generators. So what else on this? Oh yeah, that's the server. Oh yeah, the digital server box. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that lead there, push on there, and that goes around and connects into that ether connector. All right, from that DV25, and then connect to that Etherconnect. All right. Oh, so that's how it works. Okay, simple. Oh yeah, look at that thing. Not that you need it for the home. That one there, connect. Oh yeah, right. That goes to the amplifier one. What's it? If you use the Dolby amplifier. Oh yeah, okay. All right, all that there. Oh, almost this there on the screen. If I can press it, no, it doesn't do anything. I thought I could control it. Mind you that though the 950, of course that'd be just probably cheaper than a stormaudio, and cheaper than obviously a trinnov. But I'll just say at the end of the day, this is only a Dolby process. I'm going to do anything else. Looking at all the inputs, all the things on the screen. Get back to that in a moment. I've got to take a break. I've got to take my medication. wonder if Storm Audio can make an update, because Storm Audio are going to make an upgrade board that's going to be put into the processor. Okay, if they could do that, why can't they do a new upgrade front panel fascia plate? So here we go. But they got to make it cheap. They can't go too greedy. But they can change the whether there's any room for it for the new display to be fitted. So it could be a slightly larger display, slightly higher, slightly wider, and touch screen. And it would eliminate most of the other functions on the processor, all those buttons and that, and for crying out. And then they can send out for users to upgrade their Storm processor with a front panel, new display, touch screen. Say less than £1,000. Yeah, like I say, I mean, touchscreen technology and all that has been around for decades. They can get something that's extremely reliable, that's not going to have fault, be at least many, many, many years until something like that could have a fault, and that you have parts. If there is a fault, it could be replaced. But oh yeah, I would like a touchscreen panel on that Storm Audio. Hmm. Two inches, 2 inches, 2 inches wider. No, 3 inches. 3 inches wider by 2 inches higher. Oh boy, yeah, yeah. It's like what's fly these days? If I could say to someone, if I could say to someone, is it possible to modify this? I mean, DIY customization rather than waiting for the manufacturer to bother doing it. Because if I were to say storm audio, update the front panel, make it into a touchscreen, increase the screen size 3 inches wider by about 2 inches higher. You know, that would then be so readable to read the display. Not that I have a problem reading it. Then you look at the storm display as it is compared to a trinnov. A trinnov's display is a little bit smaller in size, but then most people are not going to even be looking at that processor. Oh my goodness! They spend all that money on on a trinnov, and they don't even have it like beside them where they can look at it, glance over and look at it. It's somewhere else in a room or a home. What a waste of a processor. Seriously. Serious. It's like having a car. It's like having a really stupid, expensive car without being inside the car. Does that make sense? You know, although you're inside it, you've seen what it sort of looks like on the outside, but when you're on the inside, you're not really looking at, some people like to say, "Oh, I love my car." How can you love it? You like it. You like the design, you like whatever. You can't love it. It doesn't give love. It's soulless. Doesn't have a soul. Doesn't have a consciousness. Um, but you know what it looks like. But then you look at a processor, you just see the outside. You're seeing a picture of what it looks like on the inside. So you got a general idea where the circuit boards and everything, and you got a general idea of what that is doing and how they managed to put so many audio components onto those circuit boards, the chips that is. It's just like, say, you take regular audio equipment that's usually 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame, in height, 1 frame, 2, 3, and what depending on the size, or if you got lots of 1 U frames, boom, 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 and you think you got a stack of that, and then you try and hold it in your hand. Oh, it's gonna be pretty damn heavy, not to mention, the size and the weight, and yet here you got a processor, and you think, "What is this?" And yet you look at the cards, the circuitry, the the thinking, and then engineering and designing it, and put and writing the information codes and all that for that, condensing. bulk down to something wafer thin that you could literally put through a letterbox. Think about that. Because if our minds can think sometimes of such complexities in a 20th century and 21st century social society, I wouldn't say a world, a society, social society, because a world is um, yeah, I think it's doable. I think there is plenty of room on that storm audio for a bigger display and touch screen. It would make it a lot quicker than pressing those buttons and turning that dial, pushing that. Oh my goodness. Or even using the remote control. It depends whether, you got that thing next to you. And yeah, it's gotta be pretty quick on the response from switching video mode number one to video mode number two, video mode number three, four, and five. It's gotta be pretty quick. I think they're making a new circuit board that they're going to release. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if it's April because usually there's either free firmware updates in a year. Usually, it's usually early year, middle of the year, and then late of the year, unless they're condensing it down to two maybe firmware updates this year because they're going to have another firmware update, but it's not available yet because they're probably still working out issues that it's probably got until they got it all. Yeah, and then they'll release it probably around April, I guess. Maybe the new circuit board or whatever. Whether I don't know. I don't think I would need it. I don't understand why they don't have a way where they use an extender, just like the Atmos thing has an extender, and then just add on that extender, and just like that trinnov, add on that extender, and but why not just use that extender to give to so that why don't they use it or something for the bloody oh, for so you got below surround, discrete below surround for crying out loud. With all those mixes out there that they've done, they got to be all completely redone again, and not just r- rush it. They have to be done to the same attention detail, the same maybe a little bit longer to do it. To do those, you know, can't just rush it. Otherwise, it's going to sound like a gimmick if I listen to it. I'm going to spot that it sounds like a fake and it's not being done smartly. But why not use it? Use that, to I can figure out the rest. You know, I mean, an extender would add on another. Yeah, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, 40. Another 16 channels, isn't it? Yeah, it'll add on another 16 channels for below surround, for below surround, yeah. Sound moving below, and then up here, and then up here. Move. X-wing fighters could really move around when you hear them off screen, and then whoosh, they come up from below you. Whoosh, you can hear them coming along. You turn around, you can hear the X-wing with the TIE fighter, and then wham up on screen. Yeah, it'd be a lot more bloody sound entertaining. Not perfect, but better than some of the rubbish that's been around for the last 13 years. Mm, yeah. So what else has the CP950 manual got on it? Oh, yeah, I see all this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you get excited with that. Mm, mm, mm. I don't think the Storm Audio's got something like that, or I don't know. So you got an actual X curve, though the X curve does not exist. It's a speaker phenomenon. And in case, yeah, you got the X curve thing. So you got a straight line. You got a straight line, and then you got a next curve. So basically, you just put the pink noise through, put it to the level, and if the then you just adjust the frequency bands until it follows that angle on the low frequency, and then it goes up and levels around about 80 hertz, I believe, and then it goes across up to 2.5 kilohertz, where it just drops down a tiny fraction, and then the next bar frequency drops down a little bit, and then the next, and the next, and so on. That's that's a little bit easy to visualize. Otherwise, if I haven't got something where I can visualize it easily on the screen, I have to put something like a piece of plastic or acetate, some sort of something transparent, and I'll put I'll copy it from the what's it, just put it on the OLED so I can visualize, because it's, you can soon lose track, because you've got to follow this specific curve. So, some frequencies are going to need a little bit of reducing. So, and some, and you've got to get all the speakers to the same curve, same, which is not a big deal. I believe they use different curves for on this processor. The 850, the 950, they use different curves. They got customized curve. I haven't read it here in the menu. I've read it before. That you got customized, so you can customize it. You got flat flat, or you got the X curve. I think there's three offerings. Whereas that wasn't offered before many years ago. It was just, but the X curve doesn't it? But they still do it. Oh, for crying out! What else is on there? I think these displays, oh yeah, there's the EQ. Oh yeah, 40 to 16K. Hmm. It's got some, oh yeah, it's got some on-screen thing here. I think you can use, I'm not sure, you can use parametrics. What's Grossman EQ? Never heard of that one before. Well, if it's VQ filters, I'll catch on. Oh yeah, you got a different display there. It's in, can't tell whether the image is dotty or if it's whatever smooth, because usually the frequency bands would be little dots or little lines, little steps. That's it. Similar to what you see on Room EQ Wizard. You can have something that looks smooth, right, like, but when you zoom in on it, you can see, oh yeah, there's a little bit there, and there. That's like when you play the sine wave tone, narrow, a certain narrow, narrow range sort of thing, and then you see where that sine wave is. Then you go to the next one, and you can see the next band, and so on and so on and so on. That's what I'm talking about. You need equalizers that follows the same characteristic as the sine wave time being generated. Because when you see it on the speaker and you can see that, oh crikey, there's something going on there weird with this, and it needs to be adjusted. Otherwise, you got the crossover on the DSP or something, and it's nice and smooth electronically. But when you look at it on the acoustical side when measuring, it's like crying out loud. What's going on here? It's similar, but it's not spot on. It needs to be adjusted. And when you adjust it to look spot on, the electronic side of it is the opposite, but that doesn't matter. As long as you've got power on that amplifier to do, you've got amplifier power to, and you've got enough EQ power, which there isn't. Otherwise, you got to adjust those little problematics. You can't just use a little Q bandwidth here and there. No, those things got to be adjusted independently. Otherwise, you won't get it. You won't get it smart. You get it sort of, that's okay, but you won't get it smart. You can't even zoom on that. But bloody hell, this is beginning to look a little bit like the bloody trinnov bloody manual where it's not legible. You can't read it. Bloody hell, what they used on this manual for crying out loud? You've got to put all this password crap in. Just a bit similar to a bloody trinnov, crying out loud. Is that shit really necessary? You didn't have to do any of this on a CP500 or I doubt even CP650, CP45, 200, 150. Oh my crying out loud. What is all this crap? What the fuck is all this shit here? Power supply, power pump, bloody hell, it's even got blooming temperature gauges on this bloody processor. Crying out. How hot this is and how what the current, the low, the high, the flipping temperature rate, the temperature, oh, for crying out loud. Are you going to be really, honestly, is a technician going to be really looking at that crap? But then thinking about the CP, you know, because it's going to be drawing just like a computer, and it's going to get rather warm. Certain things, and they got to be within certain parameters. And if something goes slightly out of the parameters, then a technician's going to notice, I would assume, and then be able to check what's going on with a certain. So you've got main processor PSA, main processor PL, whatever the Pro Logic. I don't know. It's got fan speed as well on it. Fan speed, two fan speeds on it. Just like it monitors on the Storm Audio. Is it really necessary? Because the Storm Audio, usually the fans are idling at 50%. If it gets a little warmish, and it jumps up to 75%, but it never, if you cool it down or cool the, I don't know, I've never seen it unless I get some cool air from the air conditioner and get some cool air on it for, say, 10 minutes. That should theoretically, automatically, the fan speed should go down from 75 back down to 50%, as well as the temperature goes down. But no, I usually got to turn the damn thing off and leave it off for about 10 minutes because the fan is so audible in a, a lower middle frequency range. It's just audible. Hmm. Whereas there's no fan on the 750 processor. Yeah. Well, not even the CP, and yet the CP200 can get warm, but there's no fans on the damn thing. Behringer DCX, the DEQs, they could get pretty warm, but there's no fans on them. Think about it. We don't have a fan. We have something that's got a blow cool air on us, or we got to hold something up and flap it, move it, cool us down. But whilst we're doing that and trying to relax and cool down, we're moving ourselves, and thus we're moving up still a small, tiny percentage. So we're exercising, we're tiny percentage of keeping ourselves still warm rather than just totally relaxing and having cool air, and give it 30 minutes until our temperature comes right down to, and then it, like, well, not, cool down, and then we feel okay. Otherwise we will be feeling uncomfortable in a sense. Cats, they perspire through their pores. They perspire through their pores. Oh yeah, 3 speakers there behind the screen in that configuration. Okay, oh yeah, there's more on this EQ there. Look at all these lines and arrows. Oh, wow, look at that. Wow. I don't think you get anything like that on a trinnov. Oh, it's got auto EQ on it. Oh, well, auto EQ's nothing new. Auto EQ's been around for quite a few decades. On some EQs, very basic EQs in the day, but auto. I think I've had a Technics EQ that had an auto EQ until it went faulty. Um, it just generates pink noise, and it's just looking and analysing the levels and just adjusting it. you know. Not really a big deal, really, to be frank. It's better to do it manually because then you can move the microphone a little bit here and there and ah, ooh, a little bit more than that. A little bit more than that. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh yeah. Oh wow, look at that. Almost puts the trim off to shame. Oh, look, I don't know why they got a crappy display on there for the VU meters. Why can't there be a little bit more? You know, they say this thing does 32 channel or whatever. I think 64, isn't it? 64 channel max. CB radio does more than that. Oh yeah, look at those speaker layouts there. Oh, look at that. All different colours. Yeah, green, turquoise, blue, yellow, orange. Oh. Target range. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, yeah, that's 12. What's that measuring? Is that 12 octave? I think that's measuring it in 12 octave. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that's a little bit high, those levels there. Look at that peak. What the bloody hell's going on there? Is that an actuality of some sort of pink noise that's being monitored in the room? So you got to adjust it, you know, because it's got this. What the bloody that? That is a huge peak. What the heck? What's going on? What's causing that? Exactly. What is causing it? If you took the speaker outdoors, took the same measurement and so forth, is it going to look anything like that, or is it going to be completely the opposite? And then when you bring it in, and then you come, well, you got the same setup, set up indoors and a set up outdoors. And you check the outdoors one, and you think, huh, it's like that. And you look at the indoor one, and you think, well, what the heck in the room is causing that? Because it's something to do with the room. You can't EQ it. You can't EQ it unless the speaker itself measures something like as crooked as what I'm seeing there, measures the same on the outdoors, which it wouldn't. Be totally the opposite. The speaker's going to have minor few dBs, but those tiny minor few dBs have to be adjusted for the speaker up close with the microphone. What the heck is doing that? Crikey, if I were listening to that, crikey, you're just going to hear that peak all the time. It will sound bloody annoying. I scroll through the menu. Oh, they got that tool, the potentiometer. Oh yeah, I got one of those little trim things. It's not a big deal. Ah, yeah, mm, yeah, it's the same one they got in those CP45s that they had. Yeah, they probably got bundles of those in the warehouse. The Dolby logo stamped on the damn thing. It's not a big deal. They're common. Oh, what's the gross man? Sounds very gross. Horizontal slider, flattener, replace and add, gross man, equalizer, sliders. I wonder if these are something to do with parametric or something. Zoom in on that. What can I see? I can see frequency bands on it there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hmm. From what I'm looking at, it looks like so it's just doing an EQ adjustment again. The more EQs change, the more they remain the same. Unless, of course, they got 20,200 filters. Then I'm interested. What else is on this processor? What else is on it? Let's have a look. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this almost puts a trinnov to shame. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. These speakers again with that surround layout. Let's see, I lost it. Oh yeah, more of that again. Almost finished through this manual. Almost to the end of it. Kind of curious. Another thing is with the 850, 950. I suppose if they change a 850 over to a 950, I suppose all the EQ parameters that have already been set up, I suppose, yeah, they can translate that over to the other cinema processor in a couple of minutes or so by just importing the information over. So it would almost make it the install. Of course, it would have to be something like that would have to be um, manually checked to make sure. You can't just think, oh yeah, it probably has. You just got to check it to see if has done it successfully and it's the same and it doesn't have any ear snags just because you changed the processor. Does a similar supplier, or I mean, what do I give a fuck about cinemas? Do they get a discount like it's like trading in the processor because they already bought the other one and they're buying another one? Can they get a deal, a discount? Oh, where's the 5 speaker layout for this, for crying out? I haven't seen that yet. Can the 950 do it, or are they abandoning the left center, right center? So, surprised with 950 it doesn't have below surround, discrete below surround. Mm. And how many years until the 950 is phased out and discontinued? I mean, this 950 looks like a heck of a lot of modules. Modu It's like Bloody hell. I mean, there's just a lot of modules, which are supposed to be easy to. That's the power supply. So look at that, zoom in on that power supply. The PSU, or the PSU, the power. Yeah, it's yeah, mm, mm, not a whole lot on that. Yeah, mm, curious, curious. It's all these, it's not like you got to take all these you got to pull the processor out, then undo all these module things at the back of the processor. Unlike a CP, unlike the other CP processors where you just open the front panel and you can take the cards out if it's faulty and put a new card in, or you take the card out if you know where the fault is possibly located through assistance, and then you can replace that component, which is going to be easy to replace. Um, is this a hmm, it's like the stormaudio processor with, but you still got to take the top panel off the processor, and then you got other things that you undo at the back, and then you plug another thing in, then you got to go on the inside and then connect it all, and then put the top lid back on. Mm, not as quick or fast as changing a card on a CP. Oh, look at this game. Look, that's bloody hell. You gotta be kidding me. So that's the monitor speaker on it. It's in a typical, from the look of it, it looks like a plastic housing. Again, plastic. It's probably got two speakers in that monitor, I'm guessing. Probably two little small speakers for the audio sound monitoring. But the chassis for the processor, you gotta be kidding. Is that it? The front panel, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, right, there's the back view of the 950. Yeah, a little porthole, so that monitor thing is ported, so it's got a port at the back of it, so it's gonna reproduce some little bass notes on it. Oh, right, so, uh, it'll also be putting a little airflow extra into the processor, little cool it down sort of thing, yeah, when certain low frequencies come along or whatever, depending on what it can monitor on the. But, oh, right, that's the front panel, and that's what it looks like. Gigantic bloody capacitor there. Um, and yeah, little, yeah, clip-ins, yeah, little clip-in things there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-huh. Um, a few little smaller things there. 4, maybe 5. Yeah, might be another one there. I can't see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bloody hell, look at that thing made of bloody plastic. You gotta be kidding with that chassis. Bloody hell. It's just bolted together with the bloody nuts and screws and nuts. You gotta be kidding. Uh-huh. Slide in there and a little, yeah, little rack. rack, yeah, thing there, that sliding out. No, no, you got to be kidding me. Bloody hell. I tell you, I don't know. Oh dear. And that's it. I'm getting near to the end of the manual. Didn't show anything for the phone screen. Hmm, curious. Didn't show any diagram for the phone screen. DB25 connect, AB, uh, pin wire thing there. I think that's for the ABS, AES, isn't it? Uh, all right. Yeah. Cable change, cabling changes required when replacing 750 with 950. 750, 950. The pin output, main audio is different from the pin output on 950. Channel 1 and 8. 750 uses a THX pinpoint, a pin out, but the 950 pinout confirms to the Tascam standard. Oh, right now, wow. Yeah, so, yeah, got to make sure those wires are correct, otherwise you won't get audio output in the proper continuity. Yeah. Uh-huh. As well as plus and plus, minus, and ground. Oh, hmm. Oh, there's the pin. There's the 750, 950. Got ground part, 24, number 3, BSL, to C, BSR, crikey, that is a lot of fiddling around with. Yeah, okay. Hmm. What's this? Oh, this video, 950 unboxing. Bloody hell, look at that. Oh, for crying, you got to be kidding. Yeah, it's just like, it's almost the bloody size of a CP750 for crying out. Not a CP850. CP850 is a little deeper on the chassis. It's a little bit deeper. But it's like the size of a 750. It really does look like the size of a 750. It really takes the piss. Oh yeah, that really takes the piss, that does. What's this? Okay, the price of a CP 950 is 3,300. Whoa, oh, that's cheap. I didn't. Wow, that surprises. I didn't know it was that pricey. 3,300. How come it's that cheap? Is it the chassis or is it something to do with getting it? Wow, 3,300. Blimey, that's cheaper than a bloody trinnov altitude 16. Almost tempted to buy it. I mean, what the fuck? 3,300? That's 2.5 grand. Crikey, that's 2.5 grand. Crikey. That's fucking cheap. That's way cheaper than a fucking stormaudio. I feel gutted. So a 950, of course, it's got a bit deeper chassis. It's deeper. And yet the 950, of course, you still need that renderer. Not bloody extender. You still need that extender to add on. But it won't do anything else. It's only a Dolby thing. But could it? Bloody hell, that's cheap. Okay, what else have they got here? Ah, hang on. I think this is where it gets a little bit tricky now. So that's hang on. That so that's 3,000, 2.5K there. Dolby Atmos full audio license. A Dolby Atmos full audio license. I don't like the sound of that. I really do not like the sound. What the fuck is that? Is that a software or some sort of shit? It goes 15.5K, 15,000 and a half, 15.5K. Burns my eyes. That fucking price is extremely pricey, whatever that is for. If that's some sort of software and sort of thing, whatever. Because basically you're just buying a it could be what the fuck is this one here? Dolby, what the hell is that? What the heck is that? It's a 1U frame. 12, nearly 13 grand. What the blazers? what the fuck that is, but looks ridiculously overpriced, whatever it is. They look like got hard drives or something that go in there or something. What are those for? No idea, but terabyte. 4 times 4 terabyte. Projector series, blah, 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 blah. I think they got to be something to do with some download or some bullshit. Okay, now that's expensive. No, I think this thing's getting a little bit over the price range now. Full license Dolby 15.5K. Dolby 5171 audio license 2.5K. Nah. What's this? It's NASA. To play out. It's like some piece of crap. I don't like. Nah. There's something about the 950 I don't like. Looks a bit dodgy. Bloody hell. Fucking hell. There's another picture of the 950. Where's this at? It's in bloody Russian or whatever the fuck this is. What the fuck language is that? Can I click on? Oh yeah, click on. Oh yeah, it's got a coloured display. All right, that touch screen is a coloured display. Can it have video on it? Can it have a? Because if it's got a display, then it can do. What's it saying? Discontinued on there for? What the fuck? What else? Oh yeah. There's one of the circuit boards that go in it. Zoom in. Oh, also zoom in on that. Can I zoom in extra? It's not too. It's fair. It's not really high definition. Battery backup there. Heat sink. There's a chip there. It looks very interesting. Okay. Some few smaller chips here. Bundles and bundles of surface mounted resistor, capacitor. Yeah. It's probably a dual where it's all soldered surface mount, top side, maybe a little bit underside. Phew. Oh, what's this chip here? Yeah. Oh, it's a oh. What's that? Oh, it looks like a photocell. Is that a photocell? Something that's showing on the oscilloscope here. Sine wave. Let's have a look at close up on that. That looks okay. Okay, waveform. Is that waveform supposed to look that way? One. Ah. Some speakers. Waveform on that. Oh, CP9 750s are. Wonder when our 750 would be just discontinued. Because if they're still putting them in 7.1 set auditoriums, when are those 750s going to be discontinued? They'll probably go from a 750 to a 850. But they've already had an 850. What are they going to go to? That's kind of confusing. Maybe they should have called the CP950 a 1050. Because when they replace the 850, they go to the 950. Oh, crikey, I don't think that process is going to get discontinued for quite a few years. Yeah, 950s. 850s are all out there. Cheapest chips on eBay.